All right, everybody. Good evening. It's Fantasy Football Live, Football Friday with the Fantasy Sports Boss. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's hard to believe that we're already in week 11, but here we are with fantasy football and a lot going on. Of course, still monitoring the Buffalo Bills Cleveland Browns situation amid this, biblical snowstorm that's engulfing Buffalo right now. And the Bills still haven't left. And, I know they've moved the game to Detroit, but if the Bills can't get out of town with everything shut down, yeah, I mean, we could be looking at a Tuesday or Wednesday start time for this game. Actually, you know what? I can't even imagine that would work because, of course, the Bills are playing on Thanksgiving. So forget that idea. So yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how the NFL handles this. Do they put the players on a bus? I mean, flying out right now is just not an option. Do they try to take a bus out of there? I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do with this Buffalo Cleveland situation, but we're just going to have to wait and see. And certainly some big name players are in limbo here. Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Amari Cooper. So we're going to have to keep tabs on that. I'm also going to go through the final injury report, some big names on that list. Davante Adams is listed as questionable, so we got to keep an eye on that. And then what I also did was, and I kind of previewed this with the Tua Tagovailoa video I just posted. I went through, the top 9 or so, 10 fantasy football quarterbacks this season. I took a look at their playoff schedule, which I always do in the summer. But of course, things change during the course of the season. Teams get stronger, teams get weaker. And I figured it would be a good idea to try to, especially with the trade deadline coming up in a lot of fantasy football leagues, to see which quarterbacks have really good schedules, which ones have scary schedules. And Tua Tagovailoa, to me, has a very scary schedule. And that's why I actually did a separate video on that. He's going to be at Buffalo, home to Green Bay, and at New England. So 2 cold weather sites. 2 very good defenses that he's going to be facing in the wild card round and in the Super Fantasy Football Super Bowl week with Green Bay mixed in the middle there. So those are certainly 2 big strikes against Tua in terms of the schedule, but I'm going to go through all that later on in the show. So, and of course, make sure you post your questions in the chat. I'll answer all those for the next, hour or so as we go through the program. So David Hobson's up first. Start Skoranek or Terrence Marshall this week. I would start Skoranek because Matthew Stafford's going to play. And I still have this nagging feeling, Skoranek's going to catch more passes than we think. And Allen Robinson is not going to catch as many passes as we might think. L. Who would you rather have, Dak or Tua rest of season? I have Tua as my backup QB and someone just dropped Dak. That's a tough one, honestly. I don't like the schedule for Tua. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned Dak. I didn't even look at his playoff schedule. He kind of slipped through the cracks there for me. If somebody can post Dak's playoff schedule, the 3 fantasy playoff weeks, 15, 16, and 17, I'd appreciate that. But, rest of season, I don't like Tua's playoff schedule. So I would have to say a slight lean to Dak Prescott under that scenario. Keenan Allen or Dameon Pierce. Oh, God, I got to go Dameon Pierce. I mean, Keenan Allen might actually play this week, which, stop the presses. So, but he's already had a couple of setbacks with this hamstring. No telling whether he's going to be able to make it through another game. So I wouldn't rely on Keenan Allen too much in terms of this season because it's, there's always a chance of another flare up with his hamstring there. So I talked about Davante Adams. He is questionable with an abdominal injury. And we've already seen what Mecole Hardman was placed on IR with an abdominal injury. So this is no small thing. And not to mention, if he does wind up playing, he's going to get Patrick Surtain. So, Pat Surtain is right there with Sauce Gardner. He's right there with Darius Slay as the top cover cornerbacks in the league who can completely engulf receivers, even top receivers. So with no Hunter Renfrow, no Darren Waller, they can even roll double coverage Davante Adams' way. So you have Surtain, likely double coverage, and now you have an abdominal injury. So if you're a Davante Adams owner, I would be a little pessimistic about what you might be able to expect from him this week. Dak's playoff schedule, Week 15 Jaguars, great. Week 16 Eagles, not great. Week 17 Titans. Is that Titans game home, L. The Jaguars is certainly a great matchup in the wild card round, and Tua has Buffalo, so at Buffalo no less. So that's a major win for Dak. The Eagles, not ideal. Certainly not ideal. But the Titans, I'm not scared of the Titans. Certainly, they're good against the run, but they're not good against the pass. And Tua has New England in the Super Bowl week. I would much rather play against the Titans. So L. I would say, the Titans are at home too. So it's in controlled environment because Tennessee can get a little nasty with the weather too. So definitely, the Titans are at home. So regardless, I still think Dak Prescott has the better rest of season opportunity there. All right, so Gerald Everett removed from the injured list with the groin injury. Keenan Allen is questionable with the hamstring, so he says that he wants to play. He should be able to go. The Chargers are finally getting healthy just in time as they take on the Kansas City Chiefs, what I think is going to be a shootout. So this is a standalone Sunday night game. It was flexed into this spot. Hi, Gerald. How are you? Or Gerard, excuse me. How you doing, Gerard? I think that there's a lot of potential points in this game. And that's why, again, Kadarius Toney could really, really, of course, we're all hyping Kadarius Toney. He could easily just faceplant, but I don't think so. I think they're going to use him on handoffs. They're going to use him in the slot. There's going to be a lot of catches here. Justin Herbert, it's been a really tough go of it the last couple of months. He's not completely healthy. He's had a lot of injuries among his wide receiver core, but I think things are going to the ship is going to start getting righted for Justin Herbert and this Chargers offense as a whole. Taysom or Everett this week. Oh, definitely Everett. 100% Everett. And listen, Gerald Everett's been pretty productive. I know he deals with the drops once in a while and he gets dinged up, but he's been pretty solid. Nothing too exciting, but he's been solid. AJ Brown was removed from the injury report with the ankle, so no issues there. Matthew Stafford's clear to go. So, no Cooper Kupp, but he's got Skoranek, who I actually think is going to have a better game than we anticipate. Tyler Higbee's going to get more targets. So if you're a Dallas Goedert owner, look at him. Allen Robinson, I've been burned by him already this season, so I'm not going to go crazy with him, but on paper, he should be much better. Lex, I'm sorry. I asked something similar before. Drop Kyren or Henderson for Ebner, no. Chuba, no. Breida, no. Perina, no. I wouldn't do that for any of those guys. I don't think so. I think Kyren Williams, again, is a guy that might get more playing time as the season goes on. Because, listen, Sean McVay, if he is coming back next season, he's got to take a look at Kyren Williams. Who would you start at flex? Cordell Patterson or Jacoby Myers? It's going to be a lot of wind for that New England game. I don't trust CPAP, but I'm concerned. Yes, I didn't even get to the second part of your question. Yeah, there's going to be. But the thing, too, with Myers, though, is he's a slot guy. It's going to be a lot of short passes, so I actually think this might help him. So I don't trust CPAP. I would still go Jacoby Myers in that one because, he's not a deep threat, Jacoby Myers. So, even though it's going to be windy, I think he'll be able to catch a couple of short dump offs and slants from Mac Jones, or keep both Kyren and Henderson. Henderson's not going to do anything. I would just keep Kyren as a hedge, as a monitor guy, but I'm done with Henderson. I really am just not interested in him anymore. Do you trust Devontae Smith against Colt defense or Deontay Johnson against the Bengals? I still, if I had to pick, I go with Devontae Smith. I had a good game last week. Deontay Johnson hasn't been very good this season. I don't even think he scored. So I'm not in on that, on Deontay Johnson. I'm going to go with the trends with Devontae Smith has been better this season. Brian Robinson or Elijah Mitchell. I'm still going to go Robinson. He's going to get goal line work. Christian McCaffrey is going to get goal line work. Going to get goal line work for the San Francisco. I think that Elijah Mitchell will get carries, but I think it's going to be I think it's going to be the McCaffrey more or less, whereas Robinson clearly is going to get the majority of touches. Devontae Adams game time decision. I did not see that he was game time decision. I saw that he was questionable. If that's the case, that's rough. I believe that's a late afternoon game as well. So, and you know what? I'm going against Devontae Adams, so this is something that I have to monitor closely. And truth be told, last night, I had Aaron Jones. He gave me 14 fantasy points, which was just slightly below what he was expected. Allen Lazard gave me 10, which was like a point and a half below what he was expected to get. And listen, he got 11 targets, Allen Lazard, so he's still the number one guy. That's why, the Christian Watson sell high video got a lot of attention. I stand by that video. I still think that it is completely unsustainable what he's doing, this touchdown to reception ratio. And that's why his value is never going to get higher than it is right now. You think D-Hop plays? Yes, Ed, I think he's going to play. He was out there today. He practiced. They said it's a hamstring issue that they can certainly manage. That's what Cliff Kingsbury said. I think he'll be out there. Gerald Everett or Greg Dulcich. So Jerry Jeudy's not playing. I didn't get to that yet, but he's not playing with the ankle injury. So Dulcich stands to have a decent day. But again, Russell Wilson, do you trust him? Keenan Allen's coming back, so maybe not as many targets for Everett. I guess I would say Dulcich just because there's fewer targets for Russell Wilson in this Denver game. How concerned should we be about Lamar Jackson when he got sick last year? He didn't play at the last minute. Yeah, you know what? I mean, this guy, what the hell's with this guy's immune system? He is always sick. He's gotten COVID like a million times. He's sick again. I have Lamar Jackson in both of my leagues. I'm starting Justin Fields over him in both. I made that decision earlier in the week. Fields is going against Atlanta. I don't like the way Jackson's been playing lately. I know he's getting Mark Andrews back this week, which is a big help, but he's sick again. Is it COVID? Magically COVID has disappeared from the NFL. Nobody has it. Nobody gets it. It's just, kind of swept under the rug. So who knows? I am concerned about that for sure. L. Coach, who should I start? Mike Williams or Rondale Moore? If Mike Williams plays, you start Mike Williams because he's got a better touchdown percentage or a chance than Rondale Moore does, and he's got the much better quarterback, especially if Kyler Murray sits out. We need to get Lamar some Flintstone. Yeah, Lamar's got I don't know what he's doing, man. Maybe he should start wearing a mask around the facility. All right, so Ezekiel Elliott is questionable with the knee. As a Tony Pollard owner, I want Ezekiel Elliott to go away finally. It's going to come next season. Is Pollard even going to return to Dallas? So I believe he's a free agent. They could certainly wind up drafting that kid from Texas, Robinson, who I think is going to be an absolute fantasy football stud. I'm calling it now. He might even push up onto late first-round territory right out of the gate as a rookie next season. That's how talented this kid is. But Jerry Jones is in love with Ezekiel Elliott. He always has been. So I think that, certainly Elliott will get the goal line carries. He may not get as many carries as he normally gets, but, Pollard drops to flex territory for me in this one. All right, so listen to this. DeAndre Swift, he spoke to ESPN and he said he's, quote, kind of pushing through things right now, still dealing with stuff. So, is this guy kidding? He's hardly played this season. He's still dealing with stuff. Quote, he's had multiple injuries. I don't get it. He's made of glass, and it's a shame because it's been a bust of a season. It's been really bad. Jamal Williams is going to be the guy for the rest of the season in the Detroit rushing attack. And Swift right now is nothing but a flex play. So to hear that he's still beat up, certainly very concerning to me. Very frustrating as well. A.J. Brown, Mike Williams, Amari Cooper, Pickens, Mixon, Robinson, Elijah Mitchell. Akil, you do need to improve your running backs. Garoppolo and Deshaun Watson stash. Do I need to change anything for? If Robinson's your running back too, that's not great. So, you have Pickens. I don't know what you can get for maybe Pickens. You want to keep Mike Williams. You want to keep Amari Cooper and A.J. Brown because that's a very strong threesome, and they're, I think you're good there. Maybe try to offer Pickens around, see if you can get something. I don't think you're going to get much. Maybe pair him with Robinson. Maybe pair Pickens and Robinson. Try to get a better running back. I know we've already addressed this, but it's so tough convincing myself to bench Taysom. I think I'd be more upset benching him and he scored 30. Yeah, you know what, David? I really do think, though, that's kind of a thing of the past now. He's hardly contributed anything the last couple of weeks. As much as I was pumped by the Taysom Hill story in September, I think it's a non-issue now. Cole Kmet or David Njoku, Thielen or Gus Edwards? Definitely Thielen. Edwards is still beat up, and I'm going Cole Kmet. Ed, you got to ride that Chicago offense all the way through here. They've been so good. Justin Jefferson not on the injury report with the toe injury, so no issue there. Gus Edwards is questionable with the hamstring. I think he plays, but Kenny Drake is still going to get time. I don't think that Gus Edwards, he doesn't catch passes. He's is as boring as it gets. He's a touchdown depending running back too in standard. He's a flex in PPR. Honestly, I would not play him in PPR leagues. In standard, if you don't have anybody else, then I would go with it. All right, so Juju Smith-Schuster was ruled out by the Chiefs. So again, that sets in motion the Kadarius Toney bust out game Sunday night against the Chargers. I'm going to watch this game. I know I've said before that I'm usually zonked by the time the Sunday night game gets here. I'm definitely going to make it a point to watch this game. I might even do the wrap-up stream a little bit early, like 7 o'clock instead of 7:30, just so I can watch this game on Sunday evening. And also, yes, I got a lot of positive reviews on the Fantasy Cast yesterday, and I certainly enjoyed that again, and I will do it not this Thursday. Obviously, Thanksgiving, I will do it the following Thursday. All right, Kmet or Morrow. I'm still going Kmet. Kmet or Isaiah Likely. If Andrews doesn't, I'm going Kmet all the way. He's catching a lot of touchdowns. Justin Fields is playing really well. He's confident. He knows what he's doing. He's going through his reads, and Kmet is winning battles, getting himself open. So, especially around the red zone. So I'm definitely going Kmet there. I have ETN, K9, DK on bye. I have Fields, JT. Do I go Swift or Eli Mitchell? Oh, man. I mean, Swift's going to catch passes. Anti-Slayer, if it's a PPR league, I would go Swift. If it's standard, I guess I would go Elijah Mitchell. Missed the show last night. I had to take my little guy to flu shots. Yeah, you know what? That's certainly more important, Slayer. You can always watch the replay. The replay is up there, so you can definitely take a look at that. And thank you for everybody for joining us yesterday. Whoever joined us yesterday for the live chat. And I definitely, I got quite a few super chats, and that was much appreciated, and definitely helps with the channel. So I was definitely thankful for that. And again, never expected, but I wanted to do another shout out because I know some of you are in here tonight. Did some of those super chats yesterday, so I definitely appreciate that. DPJ, Palmer, or Swift, PPR. Not Palmer because Allen and Williams are back. Peoples Jones or Swift. Oh man. I mean, we don't even know if this Browns game is getting played, Grizzo. So I guess I would have to go Swift. Should PPR. Should I flex Mitchell or Slayton? I mean, it's a good matchup against Detroit for Slayton. I would flex Slayton in that situation. Okay, I have Higbee and Scour starting. I feel like those two will be the Rams' offense this week. I know you typically say otherwise, but it's okay to start both. Yeah, you usually don't like to do that. Although I didn't take my own advice yesterday against Green Bay. I started Lazard and Aaron Jones. So, I would do that. Van Jefferson, Anthony. We've seen the Van Jefferson show before. It's very all or nothing, very hit or miss, very touchdown dependent, big play dependent. I do like Van Jefferson as a player, but he's just not consistent enough for me in terms of depending on him in fantasy football as anything but a dart throw in 5 receiver leagues. Kyler Murray is a game time decision with the hamstring injury. So, obviously this is trouble because it's Monday night. So if you're a Kyler Murray owner, you really don't have a lot of options here. So I think Kingsbury City, he has come a long way this week. So I think he will play, but you got to pick up Colt McCoy then and have him as a backup that you're going to start McCoy in case Murray doesn't go. That I don't think you can do that. So if you have a better backup, I would certainly go with that even before that Monday night game. Don't get caught in a situation where Murray is a last minute scratch. The Browns, yeah, you know what, Grizzo, I talked about that at the start of the show, this Browns-Bills game. This is trouble. I don't know. The Bills, last time I checked, the Bills hadn't even left yet. And they've gotten something like 3 feet of snow with another, 1 to 2 feet on tap. The pictures out of Buffalo are just staggering. We all love snowstorms, but that's like crazy, like scary snow. That's not something, especially if you lose power, that could be a really scary situation. So, because nobody's getting to you, God forbid, you're shoveling snow and you have a medical emergency. Nobody is getting to you. You're not getting out to get to the hospital, God forbid. So, older people shoveling, you hear about these horrible stories every year, guys dropping dead, shoveling snow. In situations like that in Buffalo, there's going to be no rescue coming for you with that amount of snow. So I don't know what they're going to do. And the problem is that the Bills play on Thanksgiving. So if the Bills don't get out in time and they can't play, they're not going to ask Buffalo to play Monday and then play again on Thursday. There's no way in hell they can do that. There'll be a grievance filed so quickly, your head will spin. So I think that if this doesn't get played Sunday, they're going to have to squeeze it in somewhere. They're not going to make them play on Monday and then play on Thursday. I can't even conceive of asking them to do that on such a short turnaround. Who has more upside if a running back on the team is out? Henderson, P. Ryan, Ebner, Breida, or Hubbard? I mean, we've seen Henderson before. I'm not really impressed with Henderson. P. Ryan. I would say P. Ryan because he can catch the football. He's shown glimpses in the past that he's got ability. I know they were still in Buffalo. Yeah, listen, they are still in Buffalo. I will check on that before I get out of the show tonight. So it was a maintenance deal with DeAndre Hopkins' hamstring. He practiced Friday. He'll be able to be active Monday. So that's good. It looks like we don't have to worry about DeAndre Hopkins. Mark Andrews will be a game time decision. He practiced Friday. He's been doing a lot this week. So that's a good sign. It looks like he's questionable. So if you have Isaiah Likely, you start him in his place. John Harbaugh also said that Lamar Jackson will start in week 11. He is sick, but he will be out there. You don't want to see your fantasy quarterback sick playing a game at less than 100%. But, this is where we're at with Lamar Jackson. It's been a frustrating season for Lamar Jackson. He hasn't really he hasn't lived up to expectations outside of those 2 40-point games in September. It's been quite a struggle of late. 15, 16 fantasy points a week is just not going to cut it for Lamar Jackson. He's got to play better. Hey, boss, has there been any recent news about Hollywood Brown's practice status for today? I didn't see anything on Hollywood Brown. I will look today. Andrews is a game time decision. Yes, he is absolutely a game time decision. Let me look up Marquise Brown while I have everybody here. Corey Davis is not playing. David Njoku is playing, so you get the Njoku back. It doesn't say, there's no update yet on Marquise Brown, at least on this site that I'm looking at. I would assume if he practiced yesterday, I would assume that he was able to practice today. I did not see any. Okay, so Lex saying he practiced in full. So, if he's practicing in full, then there's a solid chance that Brown will play. So how is that going to shake out? I've already talked about this with Zach Ertz being out. I think Rondale Moore, Marquise Brown, and DeAndre Hopkins can all have fantasy football value. Hopkins will be the 1, Marquise Brown the 2, and Rondale Moore the 3 in terms of where their fantasy value lies. Garrett Wilson or Darius Slayton. I would say there's going to be a lot of wind in that Jets game. I still would say Wilson because he's a top guy. Idea for the channel: do a feature where subscribers can predict the highest performer by position of your choice. When it gets sports bar shirt or something spitball. Yeah, you know what, David? I will come up with something like that, maybe like a free draft guide next year. Because I do the fantasy football draft guides every year and in book form, so I could always ship that out. I also do the prospect guide. So, and I was thinking of putting up a link to subscribe to those two. To those 2 books as well. I sell them for $15 each on Amazon. So maybe both books for, $20 or $25 or something like that, a discounted rate for subscribers. If you guys are interested in that, I might be able to do that, put like a subscription out. So when my book is done, I'll just mail it to you directly. You don't even have to go through Amazon. So I could do that as well. Played Watson again. Dude is great right now. Yeah, listen, Jack, that he was good. I hedged my bets. I started Allen Lazard, and like I said, Allen Lazard got 11 targets, and Rodgers missed him a couple of times, especially late in that game. It could have been a much better outing for Allen Lazard, but it was very frustrating from that sense that Lazard didn't do better. But don't forget too, in the beginning of the season, Lazard was catching quite a few touchdown passes, and now that seems to be Christian Watson's domain. But 5 out of 8, his last 8 catches have gone to touchdowns. That's a completely unsustainable percentage there. Definitely getting a draft guide next year. Yeah, Lex, I'm definitely going to sell it on the channel here. I'm also going to sell it on Amazon, and it's in book form. I know that everybody likes the magazines with the glossy pages and stuff. It's quite expensive to make one of those. So I do it in book form, and it'll have a nice glossy cover, but the inside, it's just facts. It's just write-ups on all the players, my thoughts on each going into the season, and some other features that go into it. So I will have a link up to buy that draft guide, and I'll probably put up a subscription link as well if anybody's interested in getting both the NFL prospect guide that I do and the fantasy football draft guide as well. All right, so now as far as the quarterbacks for the playoffs, I already did the video on Tua. I wanted to take a look at the prime QBs and see, how confident we should be going into the playoffs with certain quarterbacks. Okay, I thought on picking up Watson for the bench. Deshaun Watson, I assume you mean. Yeah, you definitely should pick him up for the bench. Deshaun Watson is a top 5 fantasy football quarterback when he's right and when the rust has been worked off. So I think that he should not be available in any leagues at this point. So let's start right at the top with Pat Mahomes. So Pat Mahomes' playoff schedule, and I'm going by a 3-week fantasy football schedule, weeks 15, 16, and 17. He starts out at Houston, so that's a huge matchup for Mahomes right there. And then home to Seattle, and then in the Super Bowl week, it's home to Denver. Now, Denver's defense is tough. They have very good cover corners. Very good pass rush as well. So that's not an easy matchup in the fantasy football, Super Bowl. But Houston and Seattle, those are just gifts for Pat Mahomes owners. So if you're a Pat Mahomes owner, you got to love going into the playoffs facing Houston, facing Seattle. And yes, Denver's a little bit of a rough one, but I certainly would never even think about benching Mahomes in a Super Bowl. So, that's a great slate. So if you own Mahomes, that is a really good playoff schedule. Now, Josh Allen, on the other hand, a less than 100% Josh Allen in terms of his health. Home to Miami, at Chicago, and at Cincinnati. So all three of these games are in cold weather climates, potential for snow, potential for wind, but that's what you get when you sign up for Josh Allen. And we're dealing with that right now. Last year against New England, this year now against the Browns with the insane snow that you get in Buffalo. So while the Miami matchup is good because Miami's defense is terrible, and the Chicago matchup is great because Chicago's defense is terrible. So those are two, as long as the weather cooperates, Josh Allen has a very good playoff schedule. And I don't feel Cincinnati at Cincinnati, again, with the caveat being that the weather is okay. So Josh Allen, big plus in terms of his playoff schedule. Now, Jalen Hurts at Chicago, again, as long as the weather is fine, that is a very good matchup in the wildcard round. At Dallas, and Dallas's defense hasn't played that great, and then home to New Orleans. New Orleans can be tricky. They have Marshawn Lattimore, who's going to probably lock on to A.J. Brown. The defense, they can get after the quarterbacks, and New Orleans' defense is solid, but this playoff schedule does not deter me at all if I'm a Jalen Hurts owner. So Hurts, good playoff schedule. Joe Burrow now. At Tampa Bay, that's not a good one. At New England, not a good one. And then home to Buffalo. So Joe Burrow has a tough playoff schedule. At Tampa Bay is never a cakewalk. Todd Bowles, one of the best defensive coaches in football, even though he's a head coach, that is a defensive unit that is playing much better of late, and they're always a handful. At New England, you never want to go to New England. The weather's going to be rough. You're going against Bill Belichick in a semifinal in the fantasy football playoffs. And then to have Buffalo, the number one defense in the NFL, at home where it could snow, I don't like Joe Burrow's playoff schedule. If the trade deadline coming up, you want to try to get a better matchup for your quarterback in the playoff schedule, I would look to try to get out from Joe Burrow if you can get somebody else of similar value. Gus Edwards or Pacheco or Thielen, I need one. I would go Thielen. I think Thielen, he was solid last week. I would go Thielen. I picked up Watson with Brady as my QB just in case. Listen, Lex, I think you're going to be playing Watson over Brady after Watson's first game back. You think Cordell Patterson's going off this week against Bears? He could, but they're really spreading the ball around, David, in that offense. So I don't know if Patterson is going to get as many carries as you would like. If when Hollywood Brown does play on Monday, would you start him or Pittman? No, I'm not starting Pittman because he's got Darius Slay, so I'm starting Hollywood Brown. Now, Justin Fields is taking fantasy football by storm right now. His playoff schedule, at home to Philly, that is a very tough matchup, even though they're home. Home to Buffalo, number one defense in the NFL, very tough matchup. And then things really open up in the finals at Detroit. So that is a fantastic matchup in the Super Bowl, the fantasy football Super Bowl at Detroit. And we just saw Fields absolutely tear apart Detroit last week for 40-plus fantasy points. So not liking the Philly matchup, not liking the Buffalo matchup. So it's not a great schedule, but not as bad as Joe Burrow's. Elijah Mitchell, DJ Moore this week. I would go Eli Mitchell. It's PPR, then I would go DJ Moore. If it's PPR, I'd go DJ Moore. All right, Lamar Jackson at Cleveland. Not great. Home to Atlanta, tremendous. And then home to Pittsburgh, tremendous as long as the weather cooperates. So I do like Lamar Jackson's playoff schedule as well. So we had positive check marks with Mahomes, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson. Negative to Joe Burrow and mostly negative to Justin Fields. If you can get to the Super Bowl with him, then he's got Detroit. Would you hold Jameson Williams? Yeah, I would hold Jameson Williams because he was the best wide receiver in last year's draft class. He just, didn't. The health just didn't cooperate. If he was healthy, he would have been the first receiver off the board, hands down. All right, now we talked about Tua. Tua has a negative fantasy football schedule at Buffalo, home to Green Bay, at New England. That is a brutal one for sure. Justin Herbert, home to Tennessee. Okay, not bad. At Indy, so it's going to be, indoor matchup there. And I don't fear Indy's defense. And then the Los Angeles Rams in the Super Bowl. And the Rams defense has been terrible. I know Aaron Donald is still there, but they haven't played well. So, listen, Herbert has a good schedule. He's getting his receivers back. He's getting Keenan Allen back. He's getting Mike Williams back. So the offense is looking up now for the Chargers, and that is a good schedule for Herbert. All right, and last but not least, Kyler Murray at Denver, not a good matchup. Home to Tampa Bay, not a good matchup. And then at Atlanta, just like Justin Fields, that is a very good Super Bowl matchup. But listen, Kyler Murray always fades as the season goes on. He always winds up dealing with injuries. And I don't like this playoff schedule. So if you're a Kyler Murray owner, I'd be concerned. If you're a Tua Tagovailoa owner, I'd be very concerned about the playoff schedule. If you're a Justin Fields owner, good times right now. He's got a tough first 2 weeks in the playoff schedule there. And Joe Burrow, very rough playoff schedule. Mahomes, good. Allen, good. Hurts, good. Jackson, good. Herbert, good. So, most of the big names are sitting on good playoff schedules. Some of the big names, though, like Joe Burrow, now Justin Fields and Kyler Murray, not so much. So that's something that you gotta take a look at when it comes to the fantasy football playoffs. So the other thing I wanted to talk about today. So I don't know if any of you guys are on Twitter. I rarely use Twitter anymore, and it has nothing to do with Elon Musk. I know that's gotten a lot of attention since he's taken over. I don't give two craps about who's running Twitter. Who do you like this week out of Palmer, Pickens, or Hollywood? Hollywood for sure. Palmer's not going to be as prolific with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams back. But anyway, getting back to Twitter. So there's apparently this Twitter handle. It's called Fantasy Receipts. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this. What they're doing is, and I guess it's a new handle that's really grown like exponentially overnight almost. They've got an insane amount of followers in a short amount of time. And the whole purpose of this channel is to troll all the fantasy football experts online and post their incorrect takes. Like, don't even bother with Justin Fields. He's going to be, just a downright horrible quarterback this week. And what they'll do is they'll screenshot that text, that tweet rather, and then they'll post it on their Twitter wall, basically in a mocking tone, just to show how off that take was. There was another one I saw on there. Some guy, traded Jonathan Taylor and Justin Fields together in a package prior to a couple of weeks ago. And now he's been mocked mercifully because this Fantasy Receipts account on Twitter got a hold of it and put it up on their wall and made this guy look foolish. But listen, and I did look to see if I was on there. I'm not on there, thank God, even though I've had some bad takes. And certainly you could have put my Kyron Williams take on there for sure, and I would have deserved it. But we all know Twitter is a cesspool of negativity, and it can be beyond brutal just to see some of the stuff on there. But I don't know why somebody would think it would be a good idea to do that. And listen, I'm all for transparency and owning mistakes and whatnot. But the whole point of this particular Fantasy Receipts Twitter handle is to mock other experts when they get stuff wrong, not to post the stuff they get right. And they probably get, more stuff right than they get wrong. And that's the aim. Nobody's perfect. So, I'd like to see what this guy's fantasy team looks like, or what players he drafted. So, I don't know. I just think it's in bad taste. I don't know if anybody saw that. I was seeing a lot of mentions of this and I didn't know what it was. And then I went and researched it a little bit. And now I understand what this is all about. And, certainly I don't like anybody trolling anybody on Twitter or online or under any circumstances. Why, Brian Pereira, why am I so underwhelmed with Olave? Is it because I have Lamb and AJ Brown putting up big points every week? I'm thinking about offering a trade, but my family league teammates are stingy on deals. Listen, I like Olave. And Brian, here's the thing. If we get another Andy Dalton dud this week, Jameis Winston is going to be the quarterback in week 12 and probably the remainder of the season. And Olave did his best work with Jameis Winston. So I think things are going to be looking up for Olave. And truth be told, he's hitting the rookie wall a little bit. He's been the best rookie wide receiver this season. I know Watson's the story right now, but, Olave has been consistently good every week. I know he's hit a little bit of a rut of late, but overall for a rookie, I think he's done very well. And as a wide receiver 3 on your team, that's not terrible. Drop Deontay Johnson, Kareem Hunt, or Eli Mitchell. I have CMC for Watson. I have Herbert as my QB, A-team lead. Drop Deontay Johnson, Kareem Hunt, or Mitchell. Don't drop Mitchell because you have CMC. I would drop Kareem Hunt, definitely. He hasn't been doing anything. That's a weird situation. I don't know why, he's a talented back. He's going to be a free agent. I'm very curious to see where he ends up. I know he's not the youngest guy around, but he's got a lot of tread left on his tires because he's been a part-time player for the last few years. Worried Mike Williams will go out in the first or second quarter. Yeah, I mean, listen, DH, it could happen. Anybody could go out at any moment. Aaron Jones yesterday scared the hell out of me when he pulled up and grabbed his hamstring, but luckily he finished the game. So, that's certainly something to be concerned about. What was the Twitter account? It was called Fantasy Receipts, Lex. And I'm not trying to promote them. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about it today, just because I don't want to give them notoriety, but I also wanted to, I think it's in bad taste what they're doing. So I just think it's kind of shitty that somebody created that account just to troll me and everybody else out there. Nigel, the super chat for 100 traded Connor Pittman or Garrett Wilson for JT. Is that a question, Nigel? So trade Connor Pittman and Garrett Wilson for JT. That's a little much for JT. Connor's playing well now. He's healthy. Pittman's with Matt Ryan as a wide receiver too. I wouldn't do that deal. No. As good as JT looks to be the rest of the season. And thank you for the super chat, Nigel. I really appreciate that. Again, never expected, but much appreciated. And it does help support the channel, guys. So thank you very much. Standard scoring. And somebody gave me a PayPal today, but it was anonymous. So if you're in here and you gave me that PayPal donation, it was a $50 donation. So I was very, very touched by that and very blown away by that. So thank you. If you are in here, you chose to be anonymous. I respect that, but wanted to definitely say thank you for that as well. Standard scoring, and it does help with the channel more than you know, guys. Standard scoring star, Chris Olave or Kadarius Toney. Thanks. You know what? I'm going in on Toney this week. I know I just got done praising Chris Olave, but I'm going in with Toney. I'm going in with Toney all the way. This is going to be a shootout. I'm going to die by Toney's sword this week. If it doesn't happen, I will definitely jump on that sword and take the hit for sure. You stream. Ed, was that you about the kickers? You stream kickers. Which one you like this week? I have to be honest with you, Ed. Both of my fantasy leagues, we don't play kickers, so I'm not as in tune on what kickers might be available. Obviously Harrison Butker of the Chiefs is not going to be available. I don't know if the Chargers guy is, but I would look at him. The Giants kicker, Graham Gano, has been very good for a long time now, and the Giants don't score a lot of touchdowns, and that's a key. You got to get kickers on teams that don't score touchdowns, that tend to bog down in the red zone. So, Graham Gano has been that, and he's been money from 50-plus yards. I think that kid Koo from Atlanta, same situation. They play half their games indoors. I think Koo would be somebody, if he's available, that you could maybe pick up. So, and again, I think kickers are outdated in fantasy football, and I suggest all leagues should just move away from it. You're welcome, Ed. Okay, you said you're welcome. I don't. Was that for the PayPal? If that was you, thank you. But it was anonymous, so I don't know if that was you. But if that was you, Ed, thank you. Only reason I have Kareem Hunt is because he was the best handcuff available. It's just a case of a chub. Yeah, listen, Kareem Hunt is right there at the very top as besides Tony Pollard, as the number one handcuff in fantasy football. We saw with the Chiefs how good he was. So I blocked the Twitter account on your behalf, Sports with Loyalties. Yeah, thank you, David. I appreciate it. And like I said, I don't know if he trolled me, but he's trolled a lot of guys that I follow. And, I just don't think – I think it's terrible. And what really bothered me is with that Twitter account, the Fantasy Receipts, is that it got so many followers in such a short amount of time. And I know there's a lot of passion now with gambling being legalized that when you make a claim – or a recommendation and it doesn't come to fruition, the hate comes in and it could be pretty borderline scary. So we don't need sites like that further that kind of behavior. So I thought that account is in bad taste. And listen, again, I am totally down with taking the hits. I only recall there was only one person who really, really nailed me in a very nasty, just kind of tasteless matter about the Kyren Williams thing. And I just said, you know what? I'm sorry you don't agree. Check out all the stuff I got right. I'll pray for you. And then I blocked him. So, there's just no reason for that. I'm sure if the guy met me in real life, he probably would like me. I hope. So and that's what I always tell people too online. Always resist the urge to do that to somebody that you don't know. I mean, anonymity is the root of all of this on social media. That might be the only interaction, likely will be the only interaction you have with that person on the other end. And that will be a negative for them. The only interaction you have with that person will be a negative one. I just don't like that. So, it can be very hurtful, and we just don't need that. Start James Robinson or Kareem Hunt in the flex. The Jets are going to have to run the football a lot. And we don't even know if this Browns game is going to be played, Steve. I would go James Robinson because, again, we don't know the situation with this Buffalo Cleveland game. I did want to look that up. I dropped Khalil Herbert for Christian Watson. Totally forgot. I had picked him up in free agency, and I thought I put him in my flex body. He went big last night. Dropped Khalil Herbert for Christian Watson. Totally forgot I picked him up. Okay. Yeah, that was a big night, Brian. For sure. I had to read it for a second time there. Listen, I'm very happy that Christian Watson is having the success that he is. He fought through a lot of injuries and underperformance early on this season, and now we're seeing the talent that really, allowed the Packers or spurred the Packers to use a draft pick on a kid from North Dakota State who was very raw. It takes. I thought yesterday you said the game was a go in Detroit. Yeah, Steve, it was a go in terms of they moved the game. Nothing about Buffalo getting out yet to get to Detroit. That's the problem. As a pass catching back, will McVay use Kyren Williams more considering comes out? He could, Ish. He definitely could. He should. Williams looked good on that last drive. He got almost 7 fantasy points on one drive. So, I think that would be wise of him to do that. It takes a lot to sit up here and give you takes, especially when people lean on you for guidance. However, people need to chill. Yes, they do need to chill out, Slayer. Nobody can be 100% right all the time. Fantasy football can be cocky at best. Yeah, listen, I've never, or at least I try to not come across as somebody that knows it all, because I certainly don't. I make mistakes like everybody else, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kyren Williams. But, I also like to think I've made some good moves as well. But nobody's perfect, like Anti-Slayer said. But we just all need to be kind. That's it. I hope Lamar plays. I just traded for him this week. John Harbaugh said he will play, Jeff. So I think he'll be fine with that one. Is it worth having Watson on my bench if I have Justin Herbert, or not worth dropping Hunt? Lex, I know Herbert's getting his receivers back. I think he's going to have a good finish, but Deshaun Watson should not be on anybody's waiver wire. And here's the thing too with Deshaun Watson. He runs with the football. So anybody, I've spoken incessantly about how valuable, especially this season, the dual threat quarterbacks are. And I'm using a 3rd round pick or at worst a 4th round pick on a running quarterback next season. I love to meet you in real life. You have made excellent picks. Don't sweat to keep up the good work. Thanks, Steve. And I don't even know if this guy attacked me. I'm sure he did. It's just like one tweet right after the other. And I went through like 20 of them, and it was all in the last few days. So, I mean, there's just a complete crap load of tweets there. But I appreciate that, Steve. Thank you. And yeah, I'd love to meet all you guys in person one day. What's your Twitter handle if you're active on there at all? Yes, David, I do. I really just, it's at RotoBoss on Twitter. I really very rarely tweet on that. The only thing I put up there are the videos that you get on here. I mean, you could follow me on that. And honestly, I don't even know what Twitter's future is. It sounds like it's in trouble with this takeover there. I just find Twitter to be very toxic. So that's why I moved pretty much everything here. And like I said, 99.9% of the comments have been very good and positive and whatnot. You get some that make fun of me. And I think one guy in the chat not that long ago called me Stephen Miller, Trump's, advisor or whatever. And I actually got a little bit of a chuckle like that at that. He said I look like him, I had to look him up, and I guess, maybe a little bit, but stuff like that. We don't need stuff like that. Should I drop Madison for Deshaun Watson? I think you might regret that, because if something happens to Dalvin Cook, and truth be told, he's made it through the season okay so far, knock on wood, you're really going to kick yourself if you lose a potential league-winning back, which Madison could be at a moment's notice as soon as Dalvin Cook gets injured. Some food beers, some good videos. Go Cowboys! Oh God, go Cowboys! I'm a Giants fan. Oh, I don't like you now, Steve. We can't meet now. I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I can't wait for that Thanksgiving game. It's going to be awesome. Make sure you serve dinner at 3:30, 4 o'clock. Everything will be cleaned up, and then settle in for 4:30 football, and then we're good to go. What's your predicted Super Bowl matchup this year? I'm going to go out on a limb and say the San Francisco 49ers against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's going to be a rematch from a couple of years ago. I've been saying the 49ers all along. I love this team. I know Jimmy G, has his issues about making clutch throws and whatnot. But truth be told, that 49ers team had the Chiefs on the rope, and they were going to win that game if Garoppolo made that throw in the fourth quarter there. This Cowboys going down this week. I hope the Cowboys go down this week. I'd love to see them lose every game going forward, but this is me as a Giants fan. Love your channel. I found out about you for a week now, and I love the updates. I'm curious, where did most of you guys find me? Did any of you guys used to check out the website that I used to have, the Fantasy Sports Boss? I gather some people have come from the website. I'm just curious how anybody found me. Like, did you just stumble on me through just a random search of YouTube? I'm just curious about that. Is Rondale Moore worth dropping? No, definitely not. Rondale Moore has been incredible. I definitely would not drop Rondale Moore. He's gotten double-digit targets like the last 3 weeks. Can't wait to eat 2 plates. Oh yeah, guys, here's the thing. Ready for Thanksgiving? And most of, if there's women in here, you can do this too. So, like the party trays where you put like Doritos and pretzels and dip and all that other shit in it. And you have 6 or 7 snacks, those compartment trays. It's all like one big bowl, but it has like sections. Use that for your Thanksgiving dinner. So that way you put the turkey in one slot, put the cranberry sauce in the other, the stuffing the other, and nothing touches. I don't like any of my food touching on a Thanksgiving dinner. So I always take the party platters and use that for my meal. So that is my advice to all of you guys. It works great. Found you trending on Twitter through fantasy. Oh, so I was trending on YouTube. Excuse me. I was trending, huh? All right. Hey, that's good, I guess. Would you trade Sutton for Kadarius Toney? God, Sutton's been bad. Sutton reminds me of Allen Robinson a little bit now. He's starting to lose his speed. And Matthew Stafford officially cleared concussion protocol. I just wanted to let you know that. You know what, Gerard? I think I would. Appeared on the recommended. So I was on recommended on YouTube. Okay. All right, good. Wow, everybody found me on YouTube, so not through Google. All right, search YouTube about injury update and sort of recently added you were on the first. Nice. And that's the thing too. So I know there's that one app, and I've used it myself, the Matthew Berry app that has the instant, injury updates. A guy, okay, Tua Tagovailoa is being looked at heading to the blue tent. Well, the whole point of my channel was to go beyond that with, yes, I report the same thing, but I take an extra 30 seconds to talk about the fallout, who's up next, who's going to benefit from it, what this means long-term, if it's a serious injury. And I think that really helped me catch on to make me a little bit unique. Your page is on my suggested. Good. I'm glad to hear that. So YouTube is indexing really well. And when you hit the like button, that definitely helps me as well. I search fantasy football filter live streams. Okay, Lex, that's good. YouTube algorithm. Would you start? So I'm doing well, it seems, on YouTube. And I looked at my click-through, and it's very high. It's like 17. The last month it's 17%. Overall, it's like 10%, and a good click through is like 5 to 7%. So I'm above average. So I'm definitely. I guess that's why I'm indexing well. So hopefully I can keep that up. Can my YouTube algorithm? Yeah, good. Thank you. Would you start Gallup or Valdez-Scantling? God, both of those guys are like the same player. They're so inconsistent. They really are. It's like all or nothing with them. I would go Valdez-Scantling just because it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be an absolute shootout. YouTube is on my side suggestions. Okay, good. All right, so I'm indexing really well there. My top 3 for advice, the 3 wise men. Oh, thank you, Anti-Slayer. I really appreciate that. That's very nice. Keep doing your thing, man. Numbers don't lie, and you just hit a Yeah, David, I got to 1,000 in 3.5 months. So, and like I said to some of you before, typically the average is 12 to 16 months for 1,000 subscribers. Not to toot my own horn, because I owe it to you. I just put videos out there. You guys found me and you subscribed, so I owe it to you guys. Toney over Pittman. Yes, this week, yes, because again, Pittman's getting Darius Slay. And part of the thing with my channel too is I project forward, I don't project backwards. So when I make calls and whatnot, it's always going forward, like looking at the playoff schedule of quarterbacks instead of looking back. Who do you think is the most overrated team and underrated team? overrated. I hate this. I'm going to be fair. The Giants are overrated. They're not as good as their record indicates. They're playing above their head because they're getting really good coaching, and they're definitely not as good as their record. Underrated, San Francisco all the way. They've been kind of wallowing in mediocrity for a while. They could win the Super Bowl. Wan'Dale Robinson, disappointing, Mo. He's been disappointing. He had that good first game off the injury against Jacksonville. It has not happened. Darius Slayton has now passed him, it looks like. So, I've been disappointed. I'm going to hold him for another week and see what happens. You're definitely about to blow up. You have live stream interaction, immediate reaction. Definitely. So thank you, Keenan. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm trying, like I said, I ran that Fantasy Sports Bullets website for like 15 years, and it got very laborious having to constantly type and get on there and every little injury. Now I could just simply turn on the phone and at any time while I'm driving, right? And by the way, that's hands-free. So I don't want anybody, you shouldn't be doing that while you're driving. So, I just, whenever something happens, I jump right on. Usually put turkey gravy, stuffing, and everything in a blender and use a straw from, oh my God, that's kind of gross. But hey, listen, I'm not one to judge. I have Murray and Tua picked up, Deshaun Watson based on the tough playoff schedule. Then should I trade Tua? Yeah, you could. I mean, you have Deshaun and you have Murray. That's probably the roughest playoff schedule of any of the top 10 quarterbacks this season. More Dulcich this week. If Marquise Brown plays, well, you're not going to know that until Monday. I would still go Rondale Moore because he's been hot. And Dulcich, he hasn't been overly consistent. I'm a Bears fan, and even though they've been losing, I don't mind since the offense is fun to watch. Yeah, they're fun to watch now, Jeff. It wasn't fun for quite a while. And unfortunately, you have David Montgomery as your running back. They just, they have to stop with this David Montgomery obsession. Do you think I should trade Debo for Amari? Yes, 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 and yes. You wouldn't think that would be a good move in the beginning of the season, but I've been consistent all year, and that's one thing I have gotten right. Debo Samuel is going to be a bust this season. He has been every bit that and more, and it will continue on because he's fourth guy on that target tree. Got to head out to a parent-teacher conference. Oh, I'm a teacher, Auntie, by day, so that's what I do by day, and I do this by evening. So you're welcome, and enjoy that. Wow, parent-teacher on a Friday. That's kind of rough, man. Well, I mean, for myself, I have to bring one of my kids to a gymnastics class at like 7:00. So, dropping her off, mom's picking her up, and then I'm just going to sit down and watch some college football tonight. I'm 6-4, and I have two kids, in case you're wondering. I have a son and a daughter. I'm 6-4 and fifth, up 14-0. 14-0 after Mr. Jones. Yeah, I got 14 as well for him. Should I look to move Olave for a wide receiver and buy like Evans Godwin? Yeah, you could. It might be tough. You might have to attach something with Olave, but I like all those guys more than Olave. And Waddle gets overshadowed by Tyreek Hill, but I think he is like top 5 or 6 overall in fantasy this season. So, Waddle does not take a back seat to Tyreek Hill at all. So I'm still looking for I still have not seen anything about the Buffalo Bills having gotten out. So I don't know. And somebody else, by the way, just sent me a PayPal anonymously. I don't know if it's the same person, but again, thank you. Never expected, but much appreciated. So it definitely does help with the channel. Time is money, as they say. So I definitely, whoever sent that anonymous PayPal, and I have a PayPal link on the channel homepage. I appreciate that. And the good thing about PayPal is that whenever you send a donation through PayPal, I get like 90% of it. When you do the super chat here in the chat, with the little $ next to the emoji, YouTube keeps like 40% of that, and I get like 60% of it. So, again, I appreciate both, but YouTube definitely takes a bigger cut than PayPal for sure. Olave and Pacheco for Godwin. I think I prefer him to Evans. Evans is beat up. Godwin's really starting to hit the ground running now. He scored a touchdown, 19 fantasy points last week. I've always loved Godwin. I drafted him in both of my leagues because I love the value he brought this season. I have to disagree with you on that. I think Montgomery's a dog. He's not the fastest, but can run people over and break a lot. It's like, hey, listen, and I totally respect your opinion. He's had his moments, but he's so uninspiring to me. 3 yards and he goes down. I know he's tough. He just doesn't have speed. I just don't like him. And that's just me, and that's fine. We're all different, right? Need your opinion, boss. Got to pick 2. Mike Williams, Olave, Tony. Definitely Tony. And I would go Mike Williams because it's going to be a shootout in that game. YT, damn bandits. What do you mean by that, Kevin? I'm not sure. I don't know what you mean by that. Kyron Williams thoughts. Mo, he's a hold. You can't start him this week. We still got to see if Sean McVay gives him more work. And I think Sean McVay saw that he put up 7 fantasy points and he caught 3 passes on that last garbage time drive. And that maybe put the thought in his head that maybe I should be using this guy a little bit more going forward. So, I think that McVay, who certainly has acumen, should be more in tune on using Kyron Williams. Thoughts on DeAndre Swift? I get this question a lot. Very concerned about DeAndre Swift. Very concerned that he has still not right 100%. And I'm not really optimistic about him the rest of the way. Now, next season, I'm certainly going to be very leery of investing in him. Oh, YouTube, Google holding. Yeah, YouTube takes 40% of the super chat. PayPal takes like 5 or 10% of the donations in PayPal. So is Olave and Pacheco for Godwin not enough or too much? That might get it done. It might be slightly too much though. In fact, it should get it done. If I'm the Godwin owner, I'd be very tempted by that. It's fair. I think you might be slightly giving up a little bit too much, but Pacheco is not used in the passing game. So if it's a PPR league, I don't think it's terrible. Knowing what you know now, how would you draft number 1 overall next year? So number 1 overall next year to me is Justin Jefferson. It's Justin Jefferson. I'm not going back down the running back road. I didn't take my own advice with the number 1 pick. I took Jonathan Taylor. We've seen what happened with DeAndre Swift. Leonard Fournette's been a disappointment. Aaron Jones, he's been way too hot and cold. There's just been a lot of injuries. Not as much this season, but the 2 years prior to that with Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, Barkley, there's been a lot of injuries in the top 2 rounds of running backs. So I would say Justin Jefferson would be my number 1 pick next season. I had the 4th pick in my other league, and I took Jefferson. So I'm all wide receivers for sure, the first round next season. Do we expect more duds from A.J. Brown? Should I trade him? No, I wouldn't trade him. Listen, that's who he is. It's by the end of the season, he's going to have good numbers, very good numbers. It's just like a meandering up and down kind of thing. But the numbers are there at the end of the season. Michael Carter, Slayton, or Peoples-Jones. Not Peoples-Jones because we don't know the status of that game. I guess I would go Michael Carter because it's going to be probably a run-heavy game with the wind for the Jets-Patriots game. Agreed, I'll never take another running back in first round again, although I lucked out with Eckler. Yeah, Eckler has stayed healthy. He's been one of the stalwarts this season for sure. My drafting strategy, I always take 2 running backs first. Yeah, Kevin, that's kind of the old way that everybody used to do it. You take a running back the first 2 rounds. That's the way I did it for many years. But I think we're getting to the point, especially look at the insane numbers that receivers have accrued the last couple of years. And, I know Jamar Chase got hurt, but Jefferson, Diggs, Devontae Adams, they've all yielded the value that they should have. And they're certainly much more stable health-wise. So I always think receivers are the better strategy. JJ is the clear number 1. Yes, definitely, Lex. Who do you like the most out of the 3 for PPR? James Robinson, Pacheco, or Eli Mitchell? I would have to say maybe Pacheco, but those are all like standard guys. If the Browns game gets canceled, my running back is Chubb, so I only have 2 running backs. I use Chuba or Kyron Williams. You'd have to go Chuba because we still don't know if Kyron Williams is going to play when the game counts. Chase, Kelsey, Andrews should be the top 4 picks. Just wait and draft. Bijan, yeah, Keenan, Bijan Robinson is going to be a major, major, major factor in fantasy next season. He could be. Remember Ryan Matthews when he came out of college? He was a first-round pick, like right out of the bat, and he didn't really have a good career. Or even CEH was like, by the time Damian Williams opted out of the season, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a late first-round pick. So, but Bijan Robinson has like mad skills. I took Eckler and Saquon as my first 2 picks. Well done. Elijah Moore, thoughts in the slot with no Corey Davis? I got to see it to believe it, Tommy. I got to see Elijah Moore simply just catch a pass. Yes, Bijan's going to be good, Lex, for sure. Is Kelsey going to be a first-round pick another year older? Yeah, he's another year older. I think he's an early second-round pick. That's where I got him in my 1 league that I do own him. I think Mark Andrews is the safer choice between the 2 next season. A lot of wear and tear on Kelsey. Gibbs too, literally. Alvin Kamara Jr. Yeah, definitely. I could see that too, for sure. I definitely could see that, Kevin. But anyway, guys, I'm going to cut this short now. Thank you for the good stream. I really enjoyed it. I'm probably going to jump on again tomorrow. Don't know what time. I do like doing the daily streams. So just look for the notification, look for the subscribe button. So until then, guys, have a great Friday night. I will see you all tomorrow for the live stream. Have a good evening.